Hey, welcome to the Joe Hoff Show. It is Friday and it's March 28th, so I guess we're almost through the end of the month of March and the end of the first quarter of the year. This has been one incredible year already. President Trump came in moving faster than anything we've ever seen, and it's been glorious, actually. I remember seeing an interview where Trump had a bunch of crypto guys in there. Now, these guys are pretty switched on. They've jumped into something before anybody else saw it and helped built empires. And David Sachs, who's leading that group, shared just compliments on Trump. He said, "Man, you are moving faster than anything we have ever been part of." And they've got a number of startups under their belts. So these guys are very impressed with what's going on. That says a lot. And it's amazing. Some of these guys were libs, 4 or 5 years ago. Now they've woken up to the real world and no more imagination. They can see what the heck is going on. So, anyways, thanks for being here. Be talking a lot today about Elon's talk last night. We've got an incredible guest. We're gonna lay out for you how elections should be done. And my theory is do it like the Italians. And so we're going to have an expert guest from Italy on our show today. Just absolutely love this girl. She's helped me out a lot, and she's got a lot to say. So hopefully you will enjoy her as much as I have getting to know her. So, anyways, lots going on, lots to talk about. First of all, I should mention next Friday I will be in St. Louis. There's an event going on there. It's with United Sovereign Americans, and I've been asked to be a keynote speaker on Saturday at lunch, and then Ann Vandersteel will join us that evening. Should be a great time, a lot of information, a lot of stuff that I've reported on, worked on. We had a group called Fate 2024. Maybe some of you guys are listening right now. Really smart people, really, really sharp people dedicated to helping to save this country. Could all see, like those crypto guys years ago, we could all see that if we don't get our elections fixed, we are done. This experiment is over. And right now, our elections are broke. And we got some clues and hints and indications last night from Elon and these real smart guys running Doge that we are totally on the right spot. So we're going to talk about that. But anyways, I'll be in St. Louis next weekend, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Hopefully see you there. Hope to bring some books. Be selling some of my books on the steel. I wrote 3 books on the steel. As I look back, I'm really pleased with the way they ended up because we ended up discovering, and I'll be talking about this next week in next Saturday in St. Louis. We discovered the election industrial complex, which we labeled that, and this entity of entities that's hell bent on destroying our elections and stealing them for the communists. So we don't want that to happen anymore. So, anyways, we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about another important piece uh, that our group Fate 2024 put together, and it was late in Christmas of 2024, I believe. We came up with this inventory of all the controls we thought should be in place in an election, as best we could. It's a big exercise, so anyways, we did that, and we determined that roughly only 1/3 of those controls were in place. So this is absolutely terrible in the absolutely non-functionable in the corporate world. If that was happening, you'd be fired. Your financials would not get certified, and you'd be in a huge mess, probably facing bankruptcy. That's how serious this is. And there's some indications the guys last night, Elon Musk and his team were noticing that with what's going on with our financials with this government, trillions of dollars. Elon mentioned last night they hope to uncover, and actually they are on track to do this, to cut $1 trillion from the U.S. budget. It's at like six. There's maybe it's seven. They want to go down to six, or six. They want to go down to five. It's just unbelievable numbers. $1 trillion. No corporation in America, I believe, even has revenues of $1 trillion. It's lunacy what's happening. Massive spending, and finally somebody's looking at it. We're finding out a lot of fraud, more than they ever even imagined. Some of their examples last night were unbelievable. So Elon Musk was on Fox. The the notoriously, in my feeling, just disgusting Brett Baer did the interview. I just don't like that guy. I haven't followed Fox since election night 2020 when we were force-fed Brett Baer and Martha McCullum, who hated Trump, and he's got a real nasty. I was talking to somebody today. I say that guy is really angry, and that's how he comes across. He doesn't like Trump. He doesn't like the Trump people. He's part of the Uniparty, and you can tell it with some of the questions that he asked last night. I'm sure some of these guys that weren't into politics at all before that helped join Elon to fix our government. Many of these guys, from the bottom of their hearts, just want to help our government, help our future. Never had any inclination of ever getting into politics, and facing Brett Bears, I'm sure that validates why they never wanted to. Anyways, here's we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some other things, but maybe first let's talk about there's an earthquake in Thailand. This video really blew me away. So this was overnight. I wanted to share this with you. Take a look at this.
Ừ, ตึกถล่มมาแล้ว
Hmm. Man, that looks terrible. Pray for the people, and that was from Bangkok, and pray for those people. That looked horrible, and apparently went across Southeast Asia there into Thailand. I've actually reminded me years ago. I had a good friend from Australia invited us to Bangkok. We stayed at one of these big, tall towers like that. Could oversee this incredible city, huge city, and with this tall skyscraper right in the middle, we could see for miles. And don't know if there was a pool on the top of that building, but that's what you're seeing there. Water coming out of the pool. That building's shaking like this, and water's just flying out of that pool. I saw one video. Guys are still in the pool. You're like, get out of that water. That glass could break with a glass like window on one side of the pool where you can look out, brightening stuff. So some of those buildings look like newer ones being built, collapsed. Anyways, I've been in one of those buildings, stayed for a few days there. Uh, Thanks to our good friend Robert, who's now passed. God bless Robert. But what a nice time we had there. It's a real, incredibly huge city. Most of you probably only thinking, and I did at the time too, one of those movies, comedies about four guys going out and getting drunk. This time there was one in Bangkok. That's why it was my only vision of Bangkok. No, it's a big, huge city. Had a nice time there, but very busy, very, very busy place. Anyways, God bless those people. So that's what's happening around the world. We don't often see some of that stuff, nor do we relate, but that's something. Stayed at some real big skyscrapers. I talked to some guys who were on the 40th story of a building, maybe the tallest building in Tokyo at the time when that earthquake hit that caused the tsunami. They said that the doors in their offices were swinging like this, just whop, whop, whop. And they were scared, and they had to walk down then a number of stairs. It was an absolute nightmare. So, anyways, Don't miss that. I was in Tokyo once when there was an earthquake, and yeah, it was something else. So anyways, God bless all those people. Let's keep them in our prayers. So last night, I already mentioned Elon was on with Brett Baer and Fox News, but it was an incredible interview. He had an older friend of mine this morning, had a cup of coffee with him, and he was just so impressed with Elon and the group that he put together. Anyways, so let's start it off. Here's Elon on the federal government not being able to even pass an audit. Take a look.
We're talking about elementary financial controls that are necessary for any company to function. So, like, if the federal government, if a commercial company operated the way the federal government does, then it would be immediately go bankrupt. It would be delisted. The officers would be arrested. And the changes we're putting in place will enable the federal government to pass an audit. It will enable taxpayers to know where the money is going and know that their hard-earned tax dollars are being spent well.
Elon is so right. And I just hope that somehow we can get this message to him. Same thing with our elections. This is why I wrote 3 books on the steal of the 2020 election. The reason the election was stolen, and I say this over and over and over again over the last 3-4 years, is because there's no way you would certify it. There's no auditor in the world who would have certified the 2020 election. Quite frankly, I believe the same about 2024. It's a mess. Thankfully, President Trump ran away with it, but I still think there were shenanigans. I think many of these lower races, Senate and House, are a mess, and they shouldn't have been certified. And that's just so what Elon's found, and it's great to see him have some financial guys there, is the truth that our elections are not certifiable at all. They're worse than the financials in the federal government. So think of that. This is serious stuff. It needs to be addressed. Please, Elon Musk, take a look. We'll try to get some of this information to you, but we've written, like I said earlier, we identified 1/3 of all the controls that should be in place in an election. We're looking at about 400 controls we deemed necessary to be in place based on Fate 2024 and this incredible group of really brilliant people that we put together, and we looked at this. And only 1/3 are in place. Only 1/3 of all the controls that should be in place are. It's worse than the federal government. It's a total sham. And this is why we need to fix these elections and totally, or this country cannot exist. So thank God Elon's looking at that. And he had some real finance guys there. Thank God they were there as well. So anyways, here's another piece. Some guy talks about Social Security. And the left is saying Elon's trying to take away Social Security. Everything they say is a lie. If you start with that, walk in the room, say, these guys all lie, then you're way ahead of everybody else. And it's essential that you do that because the mainstream media and the Democrat Party and some of these rhinos, many or all the rhinos in the Republican Party, they lie. They lie. They say something and do something else. And it's all about money. And take a look at how this guy answered a question on Social Security. You'll be blown away here. Take a look.
The 2 improvements that we're trying to make to Social Security are helping people that legitimately get benefits, protect them from fraud that they experience every day on a routine basis, and also make the experience better. And I'll give you one example is at Social Security, one of the first things we learned is that they get phone calls every day of people trying to change direct deposit information. So when you want to change your bank account, you can call Social Security. We learned 40% of the phone calls that they get are from fraudsters.
40%?
That's right. Almost half.
Yes, and they steal people's Social Security is what happens. Is they call in, they say they claim to be a retiree, then they convince the Social Security person on the phone to change where the money's flowing. It actually goes to some fraudster. This is happening all day, every day, and then somebody doesn't receive their Social Security. It's because of all the fraud loopholes in the Social Security system.
Stuff just unbelievable. It was a half hour of this kind of stuff. Only thing that spoiled it for me was Brett Baer. Sometimes he was a bit off base, I think, quite a bit, as always. But these guys were something else. This next guy that talks, he's actually the CEO of Airbnb's billionaire. Elon asked him to come in, and he's been looking at this Pennsylvania cave where retirements are managed. It's unbelievable what you're going to hear here. Watch this.
I bumped into Anthony and Elon probably back in February, and they told me something about a mine that was dealt with retirement, and they said they needed somebody to help out to fix retirement in the government. I love the challenge, so I jumped on board, and it turns out there is actually a mine in Pennsylvania that houses every paper document for the retirement process in the government. Now picture this. This giant cave has 22,000 filing cabinets, stacked 10 high to house 400 million pieces of paper. It's a process that started in the 1950s and largely hasn't changed in the last 70 years. And so as we dug into it, we found retirement cases that had so much paper, they had to fit it on a shipping pallet. So the process takes many months, and we're going to make it just many days.
Will it be digitized, or how?
Absolutely. So this will be an online digital process that will take just a few days at most. And I really think, it's an injustice to civil servants who are subjected to these processes that are older than the age of half the people watching your show tonight. So we really believe that the government can have an Apple Store-like experience, beautifully designed, great user experience, modern systems.
Fantastic, fantastic. Some of the stuff they said about that mine's unbelievable, and the systems, etc. And yet you have the left pushing these lies that these guys are out there trying to take away people's Social Security. What liars the left is. They're just so disgusting. There isn't anything they say. They are threatened by Elon and Trump. They don't want to release their documents. We had Roger Stone on here earlier this week pointing out, and I put a piece up at joehoff.com on this, pointing out 2 instances of information that he knows that still hasn't been released. It's out there. They haven't released it. So there's still some work from the deep state to get through some of this stuff. And that was Roger Stone earlier this week. Elon, it was just fantastic last night. Here's the challenges, though, he has. He has these lies from the left. So take a look at this.
I mean, you have been called a Nazi, a white supremacist, a fascist.
I mean, they've got the sort of their
Just to
normal
name
playbook.
a few. Yeah.
I mean, they've still got it. They haven't. I guess they still need to call me Stalin, Mussolini, whatever, Genghis Khan or whatever. I mean, they've called the president all these things. I think at one point there was a magazine cover which said the president was worse than President Trump was worse than Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin combined. And the president hasn't killed anyone. He hasn't started any wars. In fact, he's good at stopping wars. So this is obviously they're pushing these lies. And why do they push these lies? And I think that we need to hold people responsible for pushing these lies, because those lies almost got the president killed.
Yeah, spot on by Elon there, that's for sure. Some more on Elon last night when he's asked about some of these judges. He states the obvious. Hopefully, there's a lot more information that the DOJ has already. Really anxious to see the DOJ start arresting people, really arrest people, and because there's so much crime in this country right now. Anyways, I mean, they need to hire more people and start arresting people because to me, it's too late already. We've got to get some of these people behind bars right now. They are criminals, and some of these people are judges. So here's what Elon has to say. Take a look at this.
Are you surprised at some of the legal efforts and some of the judges that have weighed in? There's about 8 or 10 now of these cases that are at least temporary holds. They're being challenged by the DOJ.
Right.
Are you surprised by that pushback?
Well, it's the D.C. Circuit is notorious for having a very far-left bias. And when you look at the people close to some of these judges, where are they working? Oh, they're working at these NGOs. Oh, they're the ones getting this money. Does that seem like a system that lacks corruption? It sounds like corruption to me.
Spot on. We've been reporting to that, joehoff.com, Gateway Pundit, etc. Sure sounds like corruption to me, too. when these guys, their wives, their daughters, like Judge Boasberg, are all making money from these NGOs, millions, millions. Um, what's going on here? Judge Merchan, how his daughter's making money as while he is running a case against President Trump. That's the sick thing about these people. They never recuse. To me, I think there should be harsh punishments for judges that don't recuse themselves from cases where there's clear violations and clear conflicts of interest. It's outrageous what's going on there. Um, this is the moment that really kind of grinded me about Brett Baer in the interview last night. He asks him, and he really sounds to me his tones like, "How dare you? How dare you, Elon, say this stuff?" And he didn't need to bring that up, but I guess he felt he needed to. He's to me, the fact that he's bringing this question up shows that Brett Baer's the uniparty. He hated Trump. He's hating anything Trump does. He's hating, therefore, Elon Musk. I don't see. He's not a nice person. Like I said, I think he's a very angry person, Brett Baer. But take a look at this exchange. Elon did great. I loved it, and it was common sense. And anyways, this is a response, Elon, to Brett Baer.
A lot is coming your way, but sometimes you say stuff or post stuff that gets attention. You give it out, in other words. Democratic Arizona Senator Mark Kelly posted on X about his trip to Ukraine to push for continuing to send U.S. weapons and support there, and you posted that he was a traitor. Well, why do that?
Well, I think somebody should care about the interests of the United States above the interests of another country. And if they don't, they're a traitor.
Yeah, but he's a decorated veteran, a former astronaut, a sitting U.S. senator.
It doesn't mean it's okay for him to put the interests of another country above America.
Obviously, there are some Republicans who think supporting Ukraine is the right thing still, but there is a battle back and forth about how do you think it comes to an end?
Well, I think there will be a negotiated peace. And the thing that we should be concerned about is we should have empathy for the thousands of people that are dying every day in trenches for no movement in the lines. So the borders remain the same. For the past 2 years, thousands of people have died every week for nothing. For what? And I take great offense at those who put the appearance of goodness over the reality of it. Those who virtue signal and say, oh, we can't give in to Russia, but have no solution to stopping thousands of kids dying every day. They just want that to continue forever. I have contempt for such people. I don't want to make that clear.
Yeah. So you're optimistic.
Because they're virtue signaling, and their lack of a solution means that kids don't have a father. It means that parents lost a son. For what? Nothing.
Elon was spot on there. Thank you, Elon Musk. That was so great. Put Brett Baer right back in his place with the rest of the rhinos, sickos, standing up for Mark Kelly from Arizona. Give me a break, Brett Baer. That's disgusting in itself, let alone what you're saying there. My God, these people have made a lot of money on this war. And that's why I think we had Jim Hoft on Tina Peters' show yesterday, interviewed Jim. He's saying, I think that's what they're after. They're after Pete Hegseth because they want wars. The deep state wants wars. It's a moneymaker. These people are sick. They don't care. People like Lindsey Graham, how disgusting. I still think of that comment that he made in Ukraine where he's asked about Zelensky. Oh, he's the greatest politician I've ever worked with. We haven't lost a single U.S. life in this war. To me, a PIG, because a lot of lives have been lost in that war, Lindsey, and you've been making money off it. You all these warmongers working with your lobbyists to keep these wars going. Give me a break. That's disgusting. Well, U.S. hasn't lost. What about the Russian and Ukrainian kids? What about them? I think Lindsey's gay, so he doesn't have any kids as far as I know. What about them? Have some compassion. Jeez, it's disgusting. It's all about money. anyways, disgusting. One final question, we'll share this and then we'll take a break here. Is that Elon asked about Tesla and how they've been firebombed. And this is what the left does. They lie, they cheat, they steal, and they'll ultimately kill you. These people are disgusting. And we've seen it. We've seen it with over the last 8 years with President Trump. These people will do anything for power. And so here's Elon on what's happening with his Tesla vehicles.
And then when she held a hearing, said, where'd the $12 billion go? They didn't know.
Talking to those guys, and you have a great team from all over the country. You don't have to be here. You don't have to be here. You know, there's now been these many cases of violence and vandalism at Tesla dealerships. How does that affect your employees, your customers? What does it mean to you? Like, how have you taken that in?
Well, I think a great wrong is being done to the people of Tesla and to our customers. I mean, Tesla is a peaceful company that has made great cars, great products. That's all it's done. Hasn't harmed anyone. And yet people are committing violence. They're firebombing Tesla dealerships. They're shooting guns into stores. They're threatening people. They're issuing death threats against me and other Tesla personnel. What are they doing this for? Why? And what's happening, it seems to me, is they're being fed propaganda by the far left. And they believe it. It's really unfortunate. But the real problem is not the people. It's not like the crazy guy that firebombs a Tesla dealership. It's the people pushing the propaganda that caused that guy to do it. Those are the real villains here, and we're going to go after them. And the president's made it clear we're going to go after them. The ones providing the money, the ones pushing the lies and propaganda. We're going after them.
And it's been this evolution. I mean, the last administration was going to mandate electric vehicles, and now you see on the far left some efforts to go after electric vehicles. It's quite something.
It is ironic. I mean, it seems like the most ironic outcome is the most likely. But, yeah, I mean...
Personally, it's got to take a toll.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, God bless Elon Musk and all he's doing for free for this country, and the left is having a cow, just trying to harm him any way they can. Thank God he's got security, his own security. I've heard he's got like 100 people that he pays to help protect him. God bless him and keep him safe. What he's doing, and Trump and all these great people that have joined him to fix this country, hats off. We thank you. We're full of gratitude. Thank you so much for all you're doing for us. Really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. So anyways, we're going to cut to a break here. Before we do, though, I want to bring up the Oxford group and one of the ads that you'll hear here during the break. This group has helped or created one of the smartest vehicles for making money in the country. It's not about buying oil stocks. It's about oil royalties instead. And this isn't something new, but this is something that they've been working on over the past few years. You can go to hoftoilboom.com to take a look and invest. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to have much, just an ordinary brokerage account. And you can learn all on how to do that at hoftoilboom.com. That's hoftoilboom.com. So take a look, and we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with an incredible guest right after this. Hi, this is Joe Hoft. Are you looking for monthly income without the risk of stocks? Here's something you won't hear about on CNBC. There's a unique way to collect royalties directly from America's most productive oil fields. No exploring, drilling, or operational headaches. You simply collect checks month after month. The best part? You can get started with just $25 through any brokerage account. The Oxford Club's chief income strategist, Mark Lechtenfeld, breaks down what he believes is the #1 oilty play for 2025. Visit HoftoilBoom.com now to learn more. That's HoftoilBoom.com, HOFTOILBOOM.com. Stop buying oil stocks and start collecting oil royalty checks now instead.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
Hi, I'm Joe, Supreme Leader of DCF. What is DCF, you ask? We're the best damn sandwich shop in the universe. Do we sell hoagies? Well, we're DCF, and the F doesn't stand for hoagies. We got 9mm sandwiches, we got beastly baguettes, and we toast buns like no other. Looking for training on bun safety? We got you covered, and our ranges are the best place to test out your new Not sandwich. So get your buns out, because the sun's out, and let's party! We're not actually a sandwich shop.
Hey, we're back. This is Joe Hoff on the Joe Hoff Show. We're working on getting our guests all lined up here. So there was one other piece that I wanted to share from last night and this morning, and I just saw it on Twitter. You can see how the deep state lying left, communist left now, because nothing, if you're lying about everything, you're not a good person. You align with the communists, and I think that's what the Bidens were doing. Everything they did helped China, so no surprise that all the left's that way. There's, I guess, a lot of money in it. They can make a few million and live comfortably and destroy their country. I don't understand how people can do that. It reminds me of the movie Braveheart, where there's that scene where he gets stabbed in the back by the guys on his side, and then they end up getting some money from the king, and the king, one of the guys, why are these guys leaving Braveheart? And the king goes, oh, well, he took this much, and he took much less. It was just small pennies to these guys. They didn't, they weren't there, for their country or for liberty or freedom, like at the end of that movie. They were there for a few pennies, and that's what these guys are doing. And so let's play this short clip here. It's Senator Coons talking about this Signal event, which is all a sham. It's all an op. Of course, Norm Eison's involved and all these scoundrels. So we'll play this real quick, and then we'll bring on our guest. 1 second.
Did you call for Lloyd Austin's resignation? Not only did we lose 13 service members, we left $70 billion worth of equipment that fell into the hands of the Taliban. A couple of years later, he was out of pocket for 2 weeks and didn't tell the White House. Did you ask for him to resign at this point? Are you actually asking for Hegseth and Waltz to resign when you didn't ask for Lloyd Austin?
There is nothing that Lloyd Austin did by getting health care treatment.
Okay, what about Afghanistan? What about Afghanistan? Did you guys forget that the statute of limitations is over for 4 years? That's what
the fact
Mark
that the
Warner
Secretary
said.
of Defense was getting health care is fundamentally different from the Secretary of Defense sharing on an unsecure platform.
It was. You just said it was a success. Afghanistan was not a success.
I am not saying that the attack on the Houthis was not a success. I am saying that he demonstrably violated a directive that was just shared in the Pentagon about don't use signal for classified information. It is not reliably secure. And one of the folks on that group chat was in Russia at the time that information was being
secure line.
Look, all of us use apps like WhatsApp.
You're running out the clock on Afghanistan.
You're running out
information. You're running out the clock on.
It was a mistake for Donald Trump to negotiate with the Taliban an agreement for winding down the Afghanistan war.
Afghanistan was Donald Trump's fault?
If you'd let me finish my sentence, I will actually come to your direction.
You did say that.
It was a mistake to negotiate an end to that war that put Biden in a box. The execution of the withdrawal from Afghanistan was badly handled, and the loss of those 13 Marines was a tragedy.
Should you have asked for Lloyd Austin's resignation from that, or?
I don't know whether Lloyd Austin's the person who should have been held accountable for it, but there should have been accountability.
When General.
And these guys are snakes. I tell you, the Democrats in America today, I mean, really, you don't need enemies. You don't need enemies. These are our enemies. This is how it's going in the U.S. today, and it's disgusting. And then we got some rhinos as well. We've got to stand strong because I believe we're about 80% of America right now. So, and that's why we're growing, and that's why people are seeing. They didn't vote for Trump because of the mainstream media. They didn't vote for Trump because of clowns like that. They voted for Trump because we were sharing the truth. And they got the truth from us. And even places like Fox News, I'm sure they've lost some numbers over the last few years since the 2020 election. I've talked to a lot of people who stopped going to Fox after 2020 election night. So anyways, lots of stuff to talk about there. We'll have to save more for next week because we've got a special guest today. I've had her on the show before. She's fantastic, very bright, very lovely, and she's from overseas. And she's going to share with us a number of things. One is how they do elections in Italy, and that's why we need to do it like the Italians. That's my new saying. And so without further ado, let me welcome to the Joe Hoff Show, Guya Mariani. Welcome to the show.
Ciao, Joe. Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to talk to you and your audience. Thank you so much.
No, thanks for being here. Every time I have you on, I just want to sit back and listen. You're so full of knowledge and what's going on. And briefly chatted yesterday about the elections in Italy. Maybe, Guya, if you don't mind, let's start off with that. Let's talk about how elections are performed in Italy, and then we'll go into some whatever other direction we want to. But how about that?
Yes, absolutely. We were talking about, for example, now there was the new executive order of Trump for election integrity in the United States, right? How they started putting some rules in order to avoid fraud in future. And I have to tell you that in Italy, despite our reputation of being, the best magicians and making things happen, okay, in truth, our election system is extremely secure. Extreme voter fraud is impossible. The only way to cheat in an election is we call it voto di scambio, exchange of a vote. In other words, buying votes in a very simple and very normal way. Like especially they go in very poor areas, maybe in the south of Italy, where it's mafia ruled, and they just offer the people like $50, €50 or €20 at times if they vote this candidate, and they just have to take a picture and show that they voted this candidate. Or even they promise gifts, even foods, and people would just vote. The ignorant people. That's the only way you can cheat in an election here in Italy. But if you want to go through the process, through the electoral process, it is very, very simple. I brought with me to show you Americans what we use to go to vote in. This is called, I don't know if you can see it. Okay, this is my personal tessera elettorale, the electoral card. It's like a little passport. You see, these are stamps. Okay, these are the elections I went to, and there is a number on it, like, of course, there are numbers, and they are indicative to my name. In fact, there's my last name and my my residency, my address, etc. With this when the national elections come, first of all, we have 1 or 2 days, usually 2 days, like half of Saturday to maybe all Sunday, or all Sunday and half of Monday for national. Maybe somebody works, so and it's during the weekend when people don't work, and and we go to the local schools. Let's say the most common is they close the local school, and there it is where there is where you go to vote. I don't know what's it called in English. The ballot where you go to cast
the polling place or whatever.
The polling place. Yes, that's it. And you go there, and on my card there is written a number. That number is actually, like here I have 99. 99 is the classroom. Okay, my classroom that I go, because there are many classrooms in each school. There's a small school here. It's an elementary school. We may have 20 classrooms, maybe they reserve 10 classrooms. You go there. My classroom is 99. You go, you get in line. Usually they're not very long lines. Also because in Italy we have many small towns, small cities. There are a few big cities, but still there are many schools. They're proportional to the population. So usually there's not a long line like I see in America. Rarely. And when you go there, inside of the classroom, there is the president of the polling station. Usually there's like a desk. Everybody can see. There are representatives of the parties. There is the president, the secretary, and the 2 girls, of each party, of each usually opposing parties, that take your ID. You go, there is a big ledger. There is my name on the ledger because the number of this card is on this ledger. They see that it matches my ID. I give them my ID. They write the time that I'm there. It's by pen. It's all done by pen and not computer. They write it's, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I am there. They write my name. They make me sign. They keep my ID. And they give me a ballot, which is on a special paper printed by our government, which is watermarked, like a banknotes. And I go to behind the booth with a little curtain. I mark what I want to mark, usually just an X. We don't have, you can also add the name of if you have a favorite candidate, but you just write an X on the party that you want. You fold your ballot back. You go out in the center of the classroom again, where there is a cardboard box. And in front of everybody, you insert the ballot in the box in front of everybody. Even the people that are maybe in line can see, okay? Once it's done, I go back to get my ID again. They give me back my electoral card. They give me back my ID. They stamp the ID, like I showed you, my electoral card. And I am done. I leave. So when the votes are all cast, how do they count the votes? There, so let's say usually they close at 11 in the evening, okay? The last day, usually let's say Sunday, 11 o'clock, finished. The polls close. There's no late. If you come in and you're at 11:01, I'm sorry, they close the door. Like in the department stores, they just close the doors. You can't go. Okay. So at that point, in front of everybody, you can stay there to watch if you like. In front of the representatives, they start opening from the carton box. They open the things. They out loud. They say, vote for Joe Hoft, and the guys count, and the president tallies the things. It's all by hand, all by hand. At the end of the count, because it's divided into many classrooms, and because there are many schools, the count is not excessive. You understand? So you can be very precise. And if you, for example, said, oh, what was that vote? The ballot is there. Okay. So let's say that you make a mistake, you do 2 crosses, somebody maybe crosses 2 people, like for Joe Biden and Trump, okay? That ballot, of course, becomes null. So, or somebody can do, in Italy we say scheda bianca, white card, white ballot. I don't vote for anybody as a protest. Well, they do that. The white cards or the cards that have been filled erroneously, they're set aside and they're tallied. They're counted. These amount of have been discarded. Okay, and at the end of the count, this number is sent to the local municipality, which sends it to the national registry, which they do the total count. This chain, this hierarchy, makes it really, really, really impossible to cheat, because they're checked by all the parties involved. Okay, it is impossible, truly impossible to vote. Many years ago, the communists, okay, when they wanted to do some cheating, they would hide like a small, even the pencil is when you cannot erase, indelebile, I don't know how to say it in English. It's a pencil. It is of, you can't buy this pencil, okay? You can't buy it. It's of the pole, okay? It's a special lead. It's a special lead and special paper, okay? So watermarked paper, like a banknote. And they would hide like a small little piece of mine of the pencil under the nail and maybe mark, okay? So to make that null, this is a mistake. But the point is that it's really hard because people see you, it's transparent. It's just like a room where everybody can see. You can't do it. It's really impossible. The only way to cheat in Italy is to buy the vote. And also, I have to say something else, that when you do our way to vote, the symbols are big, okay? When our ballots are big like this, they're like a sheet of paper that then you have to fold back and insert it in the box. They have to fold it back as it's properly in the proper way. And so the symbols are very big. And when you do the cross, I have to make a big cross. It's not like a little dot. Okay?
Yeah.
There's no mistake. So, and the good thing is that we have results immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How many people vote in Italy in an election? Like a national election?
It depends how felt the situation is. The problem with Italy, I have to tell you this, the problem with many countries and that make elections this transparent have why do they make the elections transparent? Because in America, it doesn't matter what you vote, because however they cheat. In Italy, it doesn't matter how you vote, because however the electoral, our parliament, the way it's set up, it doesn't matter how you vote. Like in France, it doesn't matter if Marine Le Pen wins, because then they do the coalition with all the minorities, and then, it doesn't matter. So this is the other way to cheat on the people, the electoral system, not the election itself, how it's held, the electoral process. It's the electoral system that is a fraud. Like when you go to those, in Italy, in Naples, they have the game of the 3 cards, they have 3 cards, they shift them around,
right.
And which one is the jack of spades, you will never figure it out because they cheat. Okay. So in our electoral system, even if the vote has to be overwhelming, for one party in order for our government to be unable to do coalitions, with other parties in order to undermine what the people voted for. I repeat, just because it's simpler. In Italy, it's very complex, but in France, it's complex too, but a little bit less. Or like in Germany, they have this. If, let's say, a party gains a lot of power, it doesn't really matter because the parties that didn't win get together and they form a majority over the one who maybe got 40%, but then the four losers get together and they form a bigger percentage. So this is the way they cheat the people here in Europe. This is why it's hard for us, unlike in America, and this is why we look up to the American system, because it's very clear you have two choices. And the one who wins is the one who wins. It's a little bit like in our elections for the mayors. So these are our federal national elections. On the local elections, we go under national legislation as well. So it's not like each town can invent, like in America, each state can invent their own rules. No, because elections affect the totality of the union. Even if in Italy, for example, we have 20 regions, 5 of which have special statute. For example, Trentino Alto Adige, which is on the one that borders with Austria, because it has been annexed after World War II. We have, they speak German, they have special rules. It would be like, Ukraine, right now there's Donbass region. Ukraine should have simply done what us Italians have been done. We are around for many millennia, we did many wars, and we've done all our existence. We give special statute. For example, we allow you to teach Russian in your schools because we understand that there's a strong Russian population. We allow the region of Trentino Alto Adige to have their local cultural characteristics, and also have some autonomy on some taxes and some things. 5 regions are like this in Italy, one of which is Sicily, Sardinia, San Marino, I don't remember, no, San Marino is another state, 5. They should have done that with Ukraine and there would be no war, no fighting, etc. So, however, we go under national legislation with the elections, because elections affect the totality of the nation. So America can have its states, but elections have to have a precise rule, because it has. Sorry, I did this whole thing.
No, and we're talking millions of people. That's what I'm trying to figure. Like France, I thought I heard 30, 40 million people vote. Probably the same in Italy, right? About that number is.
We when the turnout is good turnout, we think it's 60% is a good turnout. We are 60 million. Okay.
60.
Or 60.
That's amazing. That's huge. That's a huge election. It's done at 10 o'clock at night. And we're monkeying around with this insanity over here. I pointed out a piece earlier. Elon Musk was on last night on Fox News, and he brought up a couple times with some of these guys that were on with him, these really top individuals. One guy's a billionaire, started Airbnb, that's joined Elon. He's got all these billionaires joining him. They all just want to help. They can see that our country's a mess and needs help, and they've got a lot of expertise. But they brought up a couple times how these numbers in finance, the financials for the U.S. government are not certifiable. They're just they pointed out no audit would pass, and that is exactly what I was saying, as you know, in my books about the 2020 election. Nobody would have certified this election. I believe the same with 2024 in the U.S. Yes, we've got the two-party system that people complain about quite a bit, but like we're not monkeying around with this business, after the election where parties are trying to, connive together to beat the group that's the largest, like we're seeing across Europe right now. I think the conservatives are winning everywhere. And so, anyways, yeah, it's just
Yes, and for
it's
example,
broken right
also
now.
for example, the voter rolls. Allora, one thing we don't have to do in Italy, of course, is register Democrat or Republican. I think that is absolutely absurd. What I don't understand why you do this in the United States. One has to be able to whichever president they want. Why should I say if I'm a Democrat or Republican? What does it matter? What does it mean? Maybe this year the Republican president is a fantastic president, and next year the Republican president is a person who is unelectable. I don't have to be forced to go for one team. It doesn't make sense. This partisanship is exacerbated by the fact that you get people to register one or the other.
Here's the one good reason for that, and in the national election, you're right. It doesn't make any sense. In the primaries, where you have just Republicans voting on their candidate or Democrats on their candidate, we don't want Dems coming in, for example, and voting for the rotten candidate and pretending like they're Republicans.
Okay.
And so the best candidate doesn't. So that's it's really for the primaries, really the national election. You're right, it doesn't make sense. It's a vehicle for fraud, actually.
It's a vehicle for fraud and also for political animosity. It polarizes the society. This is why the fight in America is like, if you're from you like another party, you kill each other. If somebody has a MAGA hat, he risks his life if he walks in a Democratic neighborhood. These things don't exist here. And then there's another thing about the voter rolls, and like you were talking about audit. For example, if I move to Rome, and unless I communicate, by law I have to communicate within 20 days the change of residence. Okay, if when I change the residence, the commune of Milano takes away my electoral card, my residency, everything, and they issue a new electoral card to me in Rome. If I don't communicate this, I keep my residency in Milano, even if I'm living in Rome, then I will still have my electoral card in Milano. So if I want to go to vote, I would have to go to Milan, but only for the national elections. However, I would be out, but it doesn't really make sense. It wouldn't change anything because I wouldn't be going to vote for the mayor of Milan if I live in Rome. Nobody would do that in Italy. Believe me, nobody cares. It would be one person, and because he's a drunk. Okay, so it doesn't make sense. And if you die, it's immediately. You can't even go in with a fake ID because everything is so local that people recognize your face. It's as if people know that you are Joe Hoft. You can't walk in and say, "Hi, I am Bill Winters." Okay, you say, "No, you're Joe Hoft." Okay, so it's just impossible to cheat here. I think there are many things that you can assimilate in order to make your elections more secure. It's definitely the paper, definitely the watermarked paper ballots. That is essential. And machines don't help. I mean, I would understand if machines would save some either money, work, or precision and be more precise. But in truth, they cost more. They don't make elections more secure. They make them more fraudulent. And they're even more confusing, and they don't speed up the situation because you take months to come to the election. So what are you doing? You're spending a lot of money.
Well, and they're impossible to audit. Yeah, they're impossible to audit. In order to do it adequately, you need a high-level IT guys that has a lot of knowledge. Costs a lot of money for something like that. Nobody's spending that money, so we've got this process that's totally broke using the machines. It's a joke, and I love it what you say there about Italy. You're just common sense. It's the way we did it for 200 years. It's been a communist takeover to get to where we're at, and we're seeing it. And now, last night we had Elon saying the same thing with our government. He's going to cut $1 trillion from the budget this year. Huge numbers, mostly I think just with waste and corruption and fraud. So we can do the same with our elections. Trump's moving in the right direction here. Yeah, we're really hopeful of that.
Yes, absolutely. The only thing is that one step further would be is to also be able to have some say on how to manage that local elections in the various states, giving some autonomy, like maybe the dates on when to make the elections, but there has to be a guideline out of which they cannot go outside, as I said, because precisely in order to avoid voter fraud in Italy, we have a national legislation for the local elections. For example, and then it depends on, like, for cities and towns that are below 15,000 citizens, it's enough to get a majority, you have to get 51%, 50 plus something percent. And towns that are more than 15,000, they have maybe a slightly different rule, But however, these are done because otherwise each town would make elections ad hoc in order for their boss of the town to be elected and re-elected. If in San Francisco, I make an example, the boss of the town is Pelosi and company, you will have an emperorship in eternity, because they will make a law that will make them be re-elected and re-elected over and over for the centuries. Okay, so this is blatant, at your face, voter fraud.
Yeah, no, you're so right. You're so right. It needs to be federal. We do have some federal laws, but nobody adheres to them. Nobody seems to care. It doesn't matter. There's certain rules, limitations, etc. They're just not adhered to. Again, another reason why our elections aren't even certifiable. So you're so right. It's just so broken here. By the way,
you have to understand that it's a violation. It is an abuse. It's a violation of the citizens' rights, because the right of self-determination, that you have it in your constitution, the pursuit of happiness, the freedom is dictated. Freedom is expressed through your freedom to decide who is going to rule you. Otherwise, it's tyranny. Okay, so if you disenfranchise the people, if you take away the people the possibility to choose who I want to be ruled, I am living in a kingship. Okay, I am not in a monarchy. I am not living in a free country. So this is a violation of the human rights. Not stepping in for the federal government of the United States, not stepping in the various states through a generalized electoral law from the Supreme Court. They have to legislate a law that has to be applied to all the states as a guideline on how to conduct fair and transparent elections. It doesn't matter if you're the state of Pennsylvania, of California, of Texas. Okay, because otherwise they are abusing the American citizen, and the American citizen is under the responsibility of the President of the United States, not of the governor of Colorado. Okay,
you're so spot on. You're spot on.
So this is a matter. Truly, it is a matter of understanding if America is or not a free country, a country that delivers what it promises, what it is, its essence, the leader of the free world. Okay, so this is my opinion, and this is why I believe that I'm happy about this executive order, because it shows willingness for the United States of America to start returning to give. When they say, "I'm here to give back this country to the people and not to the swamp," The only way you can do it, and the only thing that matters, is elections. This is how you give back. What is to give back your country? Give back my country means give me back the decision of what I want my country to become, of what I want to make out of my country. This is what it means. It doesn't mean I put in the money of the taxes in my pocket. That's not what it means to give back the country. To give back the country means give you back the decision making on the trajectory of where you want to take your country, your land. And so if you don't work a way to establish how to impose, how to implement, to force the states that are part of the union, you want to be part of the union, you have to comply to certain rules. If you withhold American citizens that are under my responsibility, you have to guarantee me that your elections are free and fair. The governor of Pennsylvania can't decide on its own, I'm going to make the elections for 1 year and we're going to count them for 60 weeks. No, because you're violating my American citizen. Like if I'm an American citizen in Cambodia and I go to the American embassy, even if I'm Pennsylvania or Texas, it doesn't matter. I am an American citizen, and the embassy is federal, is of America. A person from Tennessee cannot be treated as a slave because he has a tyrannical government, while a person from Florida is a free man because he has a better governor that allows free elections. Because we are discriminating. We are treating a certain part of the American population like slaves and a certain part of the population of America like free men. This cannot be tolerated. We have to homogenize the way you do the elections in America. Because yes, we have independent states, but you're part of a union. Okay, of a union that is united when you send your soldiers to fight. It doesn't matter which around the world, and you die for the same ideal. You die for the same concept of freedom. Ecco, finito.
Fantastic. So spot on. Couldn't agree with you more. I'm going next weekend to an event in St. Louis, and this is exactly what these guys are fighting for. They're saying we've got civil rights, and they're being violated by these nasty, corrupt, fraudulent elections and systems across the country. And they've got a great case, and they filed a number of cases across the country, and the courts are working against them because there's a lot of these crooked judges out there too that we've got to work through. But anyways, fortunately, there is some of that work going on. As a matter of fact, I am going to share your, presentation just here, our interview with the people that I know with that group. They're gonna love it. I know it. Thank you so much. And Guya, thank you so much for how you've helped me. You promoted my books in Italy. You've got them published in Italian. I can't thank you enough. It's a real honor for me to say that. And you've just been a great friend. And so honored, to know you, and I'm so grateful.
Honored. I am honored. You have to understand that the fight you have been doing, Joe, the book you wrote, as I say, always is excellent. I recommend all Americans to buy The Steal of Joe Hoft. If you are Italo-Americans, you can also buy it in Italian, Il Furto, okay? But buy it because you will understand the way they have been cheating you, the way they have been abusing you to the detail. It is a historical record. The book you came up with is something that I say should be put in all the universities for the students to take as reference on how they cheat American elections, and especially how you said about specifically the 2020 election. It is chilling. When you read it, it is beautifully written, very well organized. Only an auditor of your caliber can write it so precisely because you have to have method. And it's a beautiful read. And I am honored. I am honored of having had the opportunity to meet you, such a wonderful American patriot, and I'm a cheerleader for you Americans. I am a cheerleader because the leader of the free world is the leader of my world as well. Because if it wasn't for America, we would be speaking in Chinese right now. Okay, we would be all having one colored suit. Okay, one toothpaste. Okay, and one salary from the government, and we would have to say thank you. And we could never criticize the leader because what happened to Joe? Nobody saw him since yesterday. Okay, so it's thanks to you Americans that go to fight all over the world, who give your lives for us, even us Europeans, for the whole planet, for all the freedom lover peoples in the world. And there you can see how terrible it is, for example, in countries now like Brazil, but even here in Europe, look like what's happening in the UK. There are people that it's like a malady, like an illness, or it's a sickness. There's some people that get in power, they shouldn't get in power because they become like drug addicts of power, and they just lose it. And they think they're omnipotent, okay? And only one constitution in the world manages to prevent the abuse of power and tyranny. Usually, when these people, that feel like they're God on earth, get to power and they love it, they don't care about prosperity. They don't care about beauty. They don't care about their own people. All they care of is their own power, because it's like a sickness. It's like, for example, anorexia. They don't care to be beautiful. They don't care to be nourished or to live a life. All they care is to not eat until it consumes them to death. And it's pathological. And there are many people, there are many leaders in the world that are like that. And in fact, they cause a lot of damage to their peoples, go in Africa, go in all over the world, it's countless the places you can go. So, I mean, the only place in the world that is very, very hard to implement this sort of thing is America, because you have the best constitution in the world. So preserve it. I cheer for you. Like they do with the American cheerleaders. Give me a U, give me an S. And plus, and just to finish, we have a censorship in Europe. Unlike you think you have censorship in America, yeah, you spin the news, but you are able to say your thing, if you want to. Here, it's total censorship in the sense that people are kept in the dark. The worst censorship is not to shut you down. The worst censorship is to keep you in the dark, is to not know what's going on in America, not to know the battles, not to know. So I can't wait that the truth of the election fraud of 2020, when I translated your book, I felt like a certain sense of enjoyment, of physical enjoyment, because I wanted this book to reach the eyes and the minds of Italians that had no clue whatsoever. No clue whatsoever. When I got it proofread by an editor, she called me back. She was shocked. She had no clue and nothing of what happened in America. Nobody talks about the election fraud of America. It's like a taboo, a prohibited thing, something you cannot talk about.
Yeah, it was here too, quite frankly. There weren't many people that were writing about it. And it was just, that's the way it is. And you nailed it too. It's the mainstream media, their biggest lie is not what they're telling, which is lies, just total lies, but it's what they don't tell people. And they cover up all these stories, all this truth, and that's their biggest sin. And that's why we keep, trying to get the truth out. That's that's our job.
But for who does the American and mainstream media work for? I always ask, where do you drive your car? On an American street. Your son goes into an American school. You will have children in that land. what are you doing? They really are cutting the branch on where you're sitting on. And they think and the funny thing is that they think they're smart. I see that reporter of, what is it, NBC, she's the one who caused the Zelensky scandal, Caitlin, what's her name? The one with dark hair, CNN. She works at CNN.
Oh yeah, Collins. Yeah.
Collins. Okay. She has that smirk as if I'm smart. You know, she's probably the most stupid human on the planet, because she thinks she's doing something smart and putting her own country in the dire situations. You really think you're smart to do something like that?
Yeah, some of these people have these great Ivy League schools.
An Italian woman believes she's very stupid. And she truly is. And she acts with glee as if she, I got you, or I got you in trouble, complimenting. You just made your own country and your own people look bad, actually, for 1 minute. Because then the second that you are debunked, the second that people prove that you were you were a bad actor in the situation and not the other way around, you look the fool that you are. How can you not be ashamed of yourself? Even the scandal of the signal messaging, of the reporter Goldstein, what was the name? I don't know.
Goldberg.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think that are you proud? Are you proud? Instead of defending, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I think you brought me." That's what I would do if you call me in a meeting. I would say, "Sorry, I think you got me in the wrong meeting." You say, "Okay, bye." I don't stay there, spy, and then trash my own country. Even if it's an administration, even if it's the administration that I don't vote for, you're talking about America. You're talking about American lives. Do you think you're intelligent? How more stupid? How low is your IQ? I wonder. There definitely must be something very distort going on in your brain. Intelligent people don't do that, because intelligent people have farsightedness. Intelligent people have virtue. Stupid people have no virtue. So all the people that you see, that like those that are attacking Teslas, that are doing these sort of protests, what did you accomplish apart from getting in trouble? Apart from looking stupid? Apart from looking like a criminal, a violent, and a very low IQ person? What do you get out of it? So if you're angry, go to the gym, okay? And go and do boxing, okay? Right? So this is my final thoughts is that you should start measuring the IQ of these journalists and ask them, really, but do you love America? Do you love your country or not? What is the vocation for your journalism? The vocation is to inform the people, or your vocation is to hurt the people? What is the end point of, what is the purpose of your life? To be a terrible, a disgusting person? To be a person to be despised? What do you want to leave behind you? What is the opinion you want people to have of you? Or the judge Boasberg. These are sick people. These are very sick people, but very stupid, because they really do not realize that it will get back to them. Sooner or later, it will get back to them in a way or another. Just look at their faces. All these people who look at what's it called, Rosie O'Donnell, for example. Look the way she turned out to be. Look at all those Trump haters. Look at Robert De Niro. How he looks like a miserable man. Those clochard. Clochard. The bum of the street that asks for money in the corners of the street. He looks like that. He gives me misery. And he was a good actor. Look at all these. Look at George Clooney. Look at all these people in their lives, thinking to be smart, they instead externalize hatred over what? Your own people? For what? And look what it gets back to you. It gets back to you. You just turned out, whatever you throw out comes back to you. This Collins that you said, you will see how ugly she will become in a year. Believe me.
I agree. I've noticed that some very lovely, women, and then they get on CNN and start spewing some of this stuff, and you look at them a couple years later, and they just look ugly. And I think it's inside. It starts inside and works its way out. A lot of these people are just horrendous looking.
Yes.
It's funny stuff. It's not funny.
Your sentiment shapes your features. Your inside shapes your features, your expressions, Yeah. This is why they all look like they came out of the Addams family, the ones on the left. Look at Adam Schiff. Look at Adam. If you meet them in the middle of the night, you go a little bit further around, because you don't want to cross them too near. They are very scary people, and they have scary things in their closet. I am very curious to see now, the Epstein files and everything. All those, there has been a lot of blackmailing going on in America. That's how they kept control. They kept control through bribery, but now Elon Musk is closing the sink of the money, and the other way is through blackmail. But now, who has the registers of the sins of everybody? Who? Trump and his administration, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, okay? Now, if I was the blackmailed by the Democrats or whoever, but now the secret is in the hand of Pam Bondi, what will I do? Will I still do what my former blackmailer? He doesn't have the information anymore. Now the information is in the hands of the other guy, and I will do what the other guy will tell me if he wants to blackmail, or I will just shut up because I know that if I move, I might be. I risk. So right now, by withholding, people are criticizing the Pam Bondi, that they're not releasing, they're taking time. I want them to take time. Take your time and make them sweat. Let's see who in the meantime is going to break their nerves, because it's nerve breaking. Let's see who spontaneously breaks in pieces. Let's see who spontaneously goes in foreign countries. You don't have to blackmail, you don't have to just wait. I have the secrets. If you have sinned. Let's see how you behave. Take your time to process this, and because it is beneficial in allowing the rats to come out on their own spontaneously. So they have to do a proper job, and I'm confident they will. And I also hope that once the truth will come out, also, if I were the administration, I would definitely, let's say I figure out that this very powerful person did something that maybe his wife doesn't want to know. Maybe it's not something criminal. Maybe it's just something embarrassing. Well, then at that point, I will get the guy and say, look, I found this and this and this, or maybe you didn't pay the proper taxes on that property, whatever. Let's do some reconciliation. Let's settle it between us, okay? They could also do things like that if it's not something serious. Definitely for cases of child abuse or criminal things that are felonies. Definitely all these people need to be exposed in a way or another, and they need to pay like every citizen. And they would do them a favor, because if they pay in this life, they won't have to pay later. Because everybody, all of us, are born, and all of us will reborn in a new life after this. But at that new rebirth, we will have to come to terms with what we did here. And I am, the criminals and pedophiles, etc., they won't have an easy time after this. We are in I believe, personally, I'm a faithful person, but we all are in a situation in which, in an experience in which we have to make our Lord proud of us. He faces us, he puts us into situations, and he wants to see us succeed virtuously and righteously. And don't disappoint him. He's testing you. And there is the free will. You can choose if you want to be a good person or a despicable person in many cases. And it's up to you. But then when you say goodbye to the earth, then you move to either paradise or hell, that moment would be too late to repent, because you have to make sure that they have to lead. You have to you really have to live as if the Lord is your father. You want your father, you have to honor your father. No? In Italy, we're taught to honor our family and our parents, and it is the most, not embarrass them. In a way, your country is your family. Your neighbor is not a person from Pakistan. Your neighbor is your neighbor, the one next door. You have to help your neighbor. When they say you have to help the forester, we say the forestiero, the foreigner. The foreigner in Italian is forestiero. It comes from the name forest, because once the cities, outside of the cities, weren't the highways, there were the forests. So the guy who came out of the forest and walked into Pisa, okay, he was the forester. He was the stranger that you would have to help and feed. It wasn't the guy coming from Guatemala on a caravan. That's not the forestier, the foreigner. Okay, it's another. They twisted the word in order to give justification of mass immigration. So all these and the neighbor, it truly is like that. If you help your neighbor, really your neighbor, like the one who lives in front of your house, if he needs, if all the world helped your neighbor, we would help the whole world. Okay. If we help the people that are 20,000 kilometers away from you, and you don't help your neighbor, you won't help that guy down there, because he needs to be helped by his community. You can't one cell in a sick community. You won't help anybody, and you won't help anybody here. And generosity will just dissipate, will be wasted. These concepts that are basic of humanity need to be retaught in the schools also to the people, because this is, the orangutan, the animal, in Indonesia, in Borneo, there's orangutan. They raise their child, this big gorilla, the red gorilla. They change until they're 18, 19, 20 years old. They teach them how to eat, what to eat, all the way how to, in the same we have to do to our children. We have to understand what is the basics of building a solid humanity. And the people who are afraid of AI, of they will take my job, etc. No, because what we can do, look at the arts. I love art. I come from the most intensely concentrated country of art in the world. Even lace. Look at the embroideries, the laces, the textiles. Just that. How minute and how sophisticated. The statues, everything that the architecture, everything is. You concentrate on creating beauty and art, which can never be achieved by the artificial precision of AI, because the beauty is in the imperfection, Joe. The beauty is in the imperfection. And only as humans are imperfect enough to create the most divine beauty.
Well, Michelangelo, Da Vinci, all these people that
Yes.
your ancestors, brilliant.
There is
I
always
tell you what,
thing of
Guya, it's been
proportion.
like listening to a prophet hearing you. It's just amazing. We started off talking about elections. Now wow, blown away. I'm going to watch this again later, but we're going to have to wrap up. It's unbelievable what you shared. Any final thoughts that you'd like to share right now?
Yes, Americans, now that the ball is in your camp, now you have to play. Now it's like, when the quarterback, I think, I'm not very into sports, especially American, gets the ball. Now you have to run to the, what's it called? The goal.
Yeah, touchdown.
Okay.
Yeah.
To the touchdown, yes. So now you have the ball, you have to go to the touchdown because it's not over. It's not over. You just started. Now you wanted the car, now you have to drive it. In Italy, we say you wanted the bicycle, now you have to pedal it. Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
So you have all my support, and
thank you.
The Italians that I know, you all have our support.
Thank you so much.
You.
Fantastic. Just great spending time with you again, and sharing all that you shared. Awesome stuff. So appreciate you being here. Appreciate all you do. Thankful, certainly myself as well as for all of us on behalf of this show. Thank you for joining us today. It's awesome.
Joe, and have a great time at the event. I'm sure you're going to be successful. And again, it's very important. Keep on promoting your book because your book is really so important to understand the frailties of the election system of America. It is like to see where the soft spots are. And identify the problem. You can never come with the right cure if you don't have the correct diagnosis. And you, through your book, can give the direct diagnosis of what happened in the 2020 elections, which represent the way they cheat elections generally in every state. You did state by state. So. Bravo, complimenti, and have a great event. Whenever
Thank you so much.
I'm
be in touch.
Grazie, Americano.
Thank you so much.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. And thank you all for listening. That was fantastic. We'll be back Monday on the Joe Hoff Show. See you then.